Hello, this is Brian Gladys from the Scott Agency, and with me today, I have Matt Spate, our CEO, and we have Mark Blassie, our Vice President of Employee Benefits, who I call the architect. And the three of us together are your benefit builders. Today, we want to talk about a document that we use as tracks to run on, and it's called the Pillars of Excellence. The pillars has four main pillars. I'm going to put it up on the screen now. And as I do, I want to remind you, we are not professional podcasters or anything like that. We are professional insurance agents. So if everything went swimmingly well, you're able to see our pillars of excellence right now. So I know this is a little bit scaled down. We'll be happy to share a larger version with you, but we just kind of want to show you where our head's at. There's four main pillars. The first one is cost. Then we have communication and education, administration technology, compliance, the dreaded C word. And then down at the very bottom, the base is the concierge service and transparent fees. We're going to go over each one of these, and let's talk about cost. Cost is a very simple word. How much does something cost? But there's so much more to drill down when it comes to cost. If your current advisors have not talked to you about claims, trends, prescription drug trends, all of those items get rolled into the cost. There's so much there. And to talk a little bit more on that, Mark, tell me a little bit about what cost of a program means to you when we're visiting with a business owner.
Well, good afternoon. Thanks, Brian. I appreciate the opportunity to be part of the podcast on the Pillars of Excellence. I think it's an organized way of getting your arms around your total spend. Each of you invests a lot in your organizations, and employee benefits is probably second to labor costs. Costs here represents all the key drivers within your employee benefit programs around how you fund. Are you fully insured? Are you level funded? Are you some type of captive? Or are you out on your own with your own stop loss insurance? There's a cost to how you fund your employee benefit programs. And then, as Brian mentioned earlier, we like to peel back and get as much claim cost information as we can to help determine what is driving your population's risk, what is driving your population behaviors, because at the end of the day, it's how your employees use your programs that can bend the trend or not have any impact at all. So again, cost here is how much information can we get our hands on so that we understand your spend.
Agreed. Matt, I think you'll probably agree with me. Sometimes when we talk about the cost of a plan, the business owner simply thinks the number that you give them, this is how much it costs me to do it.
You read my mind. I was going to talk about the premium that's listed on your invoice when you get it. That's typically what you're going to think about is what is my cost, or my employees when they have something happen to them, deductible and out of pocket. That's another cost you think about. But as Brian and Mark both mentioned, claim cost, claim expenses, prescription drug spend, those are things that we can help you control within your budget that can help with that invoice that you get every month.
And what I want to express to you about cost is it is so much more than product pushing. All right. I'm going to throw some names out there. United Healthcare, Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield, Cigna. They're all going to give you a price. Do not settle for that. If your advisor is not working with you on drilling down and actually controlling the costs, if that's a new topic of conversation for you, that's something that we should talk about. Now, hypothetically, I believe I'm speaking to the business owner right now. You as the business owner have a few things on your mind. I don't know what your organizational chart might look like. If Matt Spate, the CEO of our agency, was Matt Spate, head of operations, Matt Spate, accounting, Matt Spate, marketing, and all of this, you've got a few things on your plate. That's where we want to come in and help you Or maybe it's not that way. Maybe you have an employee benefits professional that you have said, this is your job to understand this stuff. That might be the person that we need to talk to. But just understand, cost is not necessarily just what you pay for the product. There's a whole lot that goes into that. Our next pillar of excellence is communication and education. And guys, in today's world, just like we're coming at you right now on a podcast, we're also videoing this that will be on our Facebook feed. We have found that communication and education is not just for the business owner. Your employee benefits program will not succeed if you are not all rowing in the same direction. So we engage technology. We send videos directly to the employee population, talking about best practices, talking about, you want to see your general practitioner first. If that doesn't work, the urgent care is the most cost effective. If that doesn't work, let's look at teledocs or those types of things, making the emergency room the last ditch place to go because it is the most expensive for your program. Matt, with clients that you have, whether it's a great big client like a school district or things like that, tell us what kind of feedback you get as far as what type of communication and education is important to them.
Well, as Brian said, we want to help educate you, but in order to do that, we need to know what you want from us and what's going to be the most beneficial for you. Mark and I, as Brian mentioned, the school district, we wrote a 100-person school district a year ago that we just renewed. And we actually brought the carrier into the school district to meet with the superintendent and the administrative assistant. So we want to get the carrier involved too, so they can be involved to know what we want out of them and what they can help us deliver to the employees.
And communicating to that carrier is a huge point. I'm going to let Mark talk a little bit about this, that when we drill down, Mark, we have found so often that employers, actually it would be the broker, has not drilled down to access all of the tools that the carrier has available. Can you talk about how you've went in and you've done things with the pharmacy benefit manager and you've really drilled down, instead of just replacing product after product, determining if the business owner and the broker is using the product efficiently? Talk to us a little bit about that.
You use the word efficient, and I think this pillar goes, let me find the right word. It's undervalued. In today's digital environment, this should be the one pillar of excellence that is taken most advantage of. Survey after survey that we perform where we're asking employees about their plan. What do you know? What would you like to have more information on? You'd be surprised at the answers we get. We help our employers educate their employees so that they use the plan designed to help this group of employees not only achieve better health status, but over a long term through good consumer behaviors, spend, as you mentioned, Brian, go to the right care option, not just immediately going to the ER as an example. So we work with each group and we try to customize what's the most effective way to communicate with your employees. Oftentimes we piggyback email communications. We use their portals. We look for the most effective ways to keep good healthcare information in front of the members so that they go into a health situation fully informed, where they better understand why their plan was designed the way it is. And then hopefully over a period of time, they're spending in utilizing the plan the way it was set up to be.
And when we're communicating with your employees, I find sometimes that you'll ask the employee, have you ever used your teledocs? Pick up your phone. You don't have to go to the doctor's office. You get service at the comfort of your own home. No, I'm not even sure what the number is, or I'm not sure what the website is. Boy, we have solved this with little magnets that are, or cards in their wallet. We have asked employers to set up a kiosk at their location where an employee can just go there and get on the teledocs and do it there. So don't underestimate the power of thinking outside of the box and having a trusted advisor to make sure you're using the tools to your as efficiently as possible. And that's the key, because so many times people will chuck a product before they have wrung it out. And I find it's shame on the broker a lot of times. So perfect. We would love to talk more about how we communicate and educate both your business owner, your employee benefit department, and the employees. And guys, as we're talking, you're going to hear buzzwords and things like that. We apologize for that. We will work on explaining those when we see them, but it's just like your job is to run that business, and it's our job to run your employee benefits and to be your benefit builders. So our third pillar is administration and technology. And underneath it says gain efficiency by leveraging employer and employee-centric technology. Whew, that's a mouthful. And it's all about this box sitting here, whether it's using dashboards to help your person that does the employee benefits to keep on track of when notices are supposed to go out, or whether it's onboarding new employees. Sometimes we have to terminate an employee, and we want to make sure that the workflow is there. You either have that set up or you don't, and we can assist you with that and have vendors on that. Mark, I want to pivot to you on the administration and technology, because I know you and I have talked about programs like iSolved or different onboarding things. Give us your thoughts on the administration and technology world of the Pillars of Excellence.
Brian, I mentioned earlier the digitization within the employee benefit industry, the sharing of data. I think this is one pillar that we're a little slow in adapting, but simply put, we're trying to get from a paper environment to a more hybrid environment where employers as administrators and employees as consumers are at least beginning to use some of the portals that the carriers bring to the client experience. Also, the applications that are on digital devices are very efficient and don't want to use this word too loosely, but simple to go in and use the application with the right education. So communications, education, administration, technology are kind of all tied together. How do you use technology to not only support communication, but the administration of the plan? Because it lifts some of that manual burden off of your employer or your employee that it has the responsibility of administering the plan. This has moved quickly. There's quite a few carriers out there. It's our job as your advisors to help you select the right vendor that can be brought into, again, the client experience and the member experience to make it be very efficient. And we found that even smaller organizations that have invested the time to convert into a more digital environment have found it to be very successful.
So Matt, I want to pitch it to you, because I know for a fact that you have been through the paper application hell when we're working with employers and employees, and I don't care whether it's a 10-person employer or a 100-person school district. Talk a little bit about some of the technology that we use that they can do it online.
And again, you're reading my mind. This is not scripted at all. That's exactly where I wanted to go with this. So thank you. Yes. So technology in the last 10 or 12 years has improved our feedback back and forth between the employer and the insurance company, especially since the pandemic. So there's not very often that we have a group bigger than, say, 10 employees that we're filling out a paper application. Everybody has to go do that, take it home, and bring it back. We can do everything electronically. And if you're having trouble navigating those electronics, we want you to let us know, and we'll provide the expertise to help you through that. We've got access to benefit administration systems that can help with not only the enrollment, but the whole process throughout the year as far as changes, adds, terms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's become incredibly easy to most. That does not mean you won't have an employee on your payroll that is still rocking that flip phone, man. You know, and that's perfectly fine. We will get in there. Like I said, a lot of times I'm a boots on the ground guy. There's been plenty of times that I have gotten in there at 6 a.m., sat with the employees, got them through it, and figured it out. So administration and technology is building every single day. So if I come up on our fourth pillar of excellence, it's compliance, ERISA, HIPAA, and the Affordable Care Act. And it says, regardless of size, ongoing mandatory compliance. And compliance is larger than a four-letter word, but it really does seem like a four-letter word to most employers because, well, when was I supposed to send out this report? Oh, well, I was supposed to give you a census of the number of COBRA people that I have. It can just get so tricky. So again, we have tools and we have dashboards. When we're talking about compliance, I'm gonna go out on a limb here. And depending on the size of your company, you may or may not have an HR department. We have just been in the process, finished some discussions, helping out a municipality to shore up their HR department, where they weren't sure what to do with these FMLA problems or the disability problems or discipline problems. So compliance is such a large area. Mark, do you want to hit on compliance real quick?
What we try to do is minimize what might be compliance gaps. And Brian mentioned checklists. And it's important to understand that these regulations are not going away. They're actually getting worse. It burdens someone who just wants to put something affordable into their employees' hands. What we try to do is make sure you stay out of trouble because the Department of Labor is increasing their monitoring of employee benefit programs. That's not to scare you. That's a reality. So there is a lot of attention to this one pillar. And again, it's an important pillar, but our job is to inform and educate so that you're doing the things necessary to keep your plan in compliance.
Right on, right on. And I'm going to stop sharing the screen now so you can look at our lovely faces. But before I do, I want to show you the foundation. The foundation of the pillars is the concierge service and transparent fees. So let's talk about that for just a second. We run into brokers all the time that go in and sell a product and say, wish you well. Here's a 1-800 number for you to call if you have any billing problems or things like that. There is a time and a place for that, but there's also a time and a place for more concierge service. I can tell you that if you're close to me in geography, it's nothing for employees to walk into my office of one of my employers and ask me questions. We can do the same thing in today's world on Zoom or even just picking up the phone and calling. The concierge service that we look to provide is to make sure that we have your back. One of the ways that we do that is to bring in third-party administrators. One of their names is Milliman. We're going to do a separate podcast on them that can help you ensure that you are using your money in the best, fiscal way for your benefits. And it also double checks us. I'd like to tell you that I'm perfect. Isn't that right?
Of course.
Yeah, maybe not. But we do work very hard so that our recommendations make sense. So as far as what does the concierge service mean to you? Because there's one of us, but in the school districts, there's literally hundreds of employees. In the municipalities that we insure, there's literally hundreds of employees.
Yeah, so here's a couple examples. As I said, Mark and I recently did an enrollment at a school. Multitude of employees came up after the meeting to ask questions. Some of them we had to write down names and phone numbers. The Anthem rep that was with us wrote down names and phone numbers. Mm-hmm. And between the three of us, we gathered the answers we needed to, and we got back to the customer. As we stated, technology has changed things. Brian talked about his local service, but with technology, we can write benefits insurance almost anywhere in the country.
Right.
We're licensed in several states. We can get licensed in any state that we want. So technology has enabled us to help you anywhere and everywhere that you are and that you need assistance with your benefits.
And I think one of the reasons why we're able to rock the pillars of excellence is because we are a third generation family owned company. Matt's the CEO of the company that has had the foresight to bring in architects like Mark Blassie and Keystone to bring the pieces of the puzzle together so that we can hammer every single pillar of excellence that we talked about while still providing that concierge service. That's our niche. We want to be an extension of your team. If you don't have that, if you don't feel like your broker has your back, if your employees don't feel like your broker has your back, Mark Blassie had the idea of let's do a survey to one of our large employers, and the survey gave benefits all over the place. It gave feedback to the employer, it gave feedback to us. And when we talk about attracting talent and retaining talent, it's absolutely huge. Mark, that foundation of concierge service, tell us what it means to you.
2 words, trusted advisor.
Boom. Love it. Absolutely love it. Well, guys, we want the information that we share to you to be relevant. We really don't want to be talking heads. I know you stared at the pillars of excellence there for a little while, but the next podcast we do and the subsequent podcasts, we want to give them some teeth. We want to give you actionable items. We've done some really fun stuff. We'll talk about some case studies. There's so many buzzwords out there, you know, whether it is a health and wellness program. And a health and wellness program is fantastic, but if only 2% of the people use it, not so much. Me and Mark and Matt have guided our employers as their trusted advisors. So any final words, guys? I think I'm gonna leave it there, and we'll crank up the next one. But we're excited. We are your benefit builders. We're that hometown family-owned business that has planned to survive the future, to be able to compete with any other carriers that are out there and provide you service like you haven't had before. Mark, anything in closing?
I'd just like to say that the Pillars of Excellence is an organized way to inventory your current plan design. It would only take 30 minutes if you gave us that opportunity to come in, ask the questions that help populate those 4 pillars. Again, you should have an understanding of what your costs, communication, administration, and compliance exposures are.
Right on. Matt, anything in closing?
Agreed. No, it's been a blast today, and I look forward to next time.
Guys, thank you so much. We're your benefit builders. We hope you tune in. We hope you share. Thank you. Bye-bye.
The next time.